Welcome everyone to Chicago Football Connection Podcast. I'm your host Steve Letizia. Follow me on Twitter at CC Bears. Joined by my co-host Luke O'Grady. Follow him on Twitter at Luke O'Grady. We're here to talk Chicago Bears loss versus the Indianapolis Colts in Week 3. A lot to discuss. Opinions just about everything on Bears Twitter seem to be all over the place.
Seriously.
So Luke and I have actually not shared it. I think I have an idea of how each other are going to talk it, but we have not shared it with each other, how we feel, what we're thinking going into the rest of the year. So I'm excited for this one. I think it's going to be
Yeah.
interesting. I'm excited. Hopefully we get some comments because I want to hear other people's thoughts too. But Luke, we'll start as well. We'll take a high level overview and then we'll dig down in. So just like as a Bears fan, for the rest, as the season, you're based on your expectations heading of the season, based on where they're at right now. How are you feeling?
Current feelings are, you know, I there's
That's a good way to put
dude,
it.
but man, you know what's so funny is it's like it feels like the roof is falling down for a lot of the people I've seen like talking about it, and rightfully
Yeah,
so. There are some things that seem like there may be fundamental errors with this Bears team at the moment. But like when I started like looking at the games before the season, I had the Titans penciled in as a win. I had the Texans penciled in as a loss. I had the Colts penciled in as a win. So
sure.
it's not where I expected this team to be or where I wanted them to be. I don't. I'm encouraged by the most important part of this season, that being Caleb Williams. I think a lot of the noise around the team has had some like fair criticism and some stuff that's actually genuine reason for concern. And I do not believe Caleb Williams to be one of them so far. I know that's
Mm-hmm.
probably an unpopular opinion, and he's had bad. That isn't to say he's been without bad plays, but I've been genuinely encouraged by a lot of the stuff I've seen from him so far. I think with the right, with a little bit more support, specifically on the offensive line and maybe the run game side, I think he's already shown more than enough for me to be encouraged at this point, which was all the season was about. As much as there were some high expectations because the Bears have done a good job building what we thought was a good roster around this team. But a couple fatal flaws it seems like they may have has resulted in a loss where I thought we were going to get a win. But all things considered, I'm not too broken up about it.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I mean, I kind of thought they would be hovering around 500 all year. I probably thought preseason they were going to beat the Colts and be 2-1 at this point, but 1-2 is not big difference. I thought they were going to be hovering around 500 plus or minus a game or two, probably like high end maybe 9-10 wins, low end 7-6-7 wins. Probably about 7-8 wins. So, and that's kind of the trajectory they're on. I expected there to be a little bit of rookie growing pains and new signal calling growing pains. Maybe not necessarily to like the week 1 and week 2 extent because
Seriously.
those games were worse offensively, but I did expect a little bit of those growing pains. So they're not too far off kind of what I expected going into the season. I think what you said is right. I think it's it's so easy to see the growth from Caleb Williams, which is what
Yeah.
this season is really about. The Bears are never winning a Super Bowl this year. I never had that thought in my mind. So, when they are 1-2 right now, it's not the sky is falling. It's well, Caleb Williams has looked okay, had his best game of his career. Again, like you
Totally.
said, not without faults. There were bad plays in week 1, 2, and 3, despite how many yards he threw for it. Like no
Yep.
one's saying he's been perfect, but the trend line it's easy to see it's heading in the right direction, which is what this season's about.
Yep.
So the sky, in my mind, is not falling. I wish things looked a little bit better. Their defense is still playing outstanding. I know they gave
Seriously.
up some points there at the end, but I think that's just you can only fight for so long before you're eventually going to give something up. So not worried about the defense at all.
Seriously.
And if the offense just keeps improving incrementally, you
Yeah.
know, by week 5, 6, I think we're going to be really. I think they are going to get some stuff rolling. They're going to find out what they do well, which seems to be just a quick pass game. Uh, the
Yeah.
run game obviously is not there, but just Caleb Williams just getting the ball out in about 2.5 seconds to his receivers. That seems to be the most successful plays on first down. So I'd like to see them kind of just roll into that in the next couple weeks. I
Totally.
don't want to see Caleb Williams throw the ball 52 times every week. I think that's not a recipe for success. But
Wow.
it's hard to say that running the ball for them is the recipe for success because they just cannot do it. But I don't know. I'm still kind of optimistic. Maybe not for this season, but just as a Bears fan as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, I've loved what I've seen from Caleb Williams. I thought, I thought actually that he probably deserved a little bit more flack for some easy stuff he missed and some little things against the Texans. There were some obvious misses in the long ones and the boneheaded rookie plays. You kind of knew you were going to get a handful of those just doing the Caleb Williams thing. But I thought he was passing up easier stuff and not taking the easier stuff, and I thought he did a way better job of that against the Colts. So that's encouraging. And it looked like he was being successful in spite of a bad offense versus like the opposite, where I kind of thought maybe he was one of the reasons the offense could have done better against the Texans. But man, it's not hard to not be worried about that offense right now. The offensive line doesn't look like there's any cohesion, and that is extremely true in the run game. And it doesn't help that the person that's getting the majority of the carries right now, DeAndre Swift, just looks like an absolute marshmallow man. Anytime he's touched, he goes down. He doesn't seem to have good vision or like be able to work with the play and system, and he just can't break tackles. And I think a lot of the allure of him coming in was that he gave us someone that was a legitimate third down back, which he didn't really have on the roster, evidently, and that's a good thing. But I'm done with the experiment of seeing DeAndre Swift on first and second down. I know you paid him a lot of money. The contract is set up in a good way where you can cut him after this season. I just want to see him on third downs when he can be effective in the receiving game, and just let Roschon Johnson and Khalil Herbert work if need be on that run game, because even though we're still not blocking them up correctly, Roschon and Khalil Herbert both look infinitely more effective on a per touch basis so far this season.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think they have to just reevaluate where they're at with the run game, everything from the running back rotation to the offensive line to the actual just run game, specifics. But I think DeAndre Swift is always a player in his career who's been better when he's out in space, and he was when he's at the second level, he can make guys miss. The problem has always been getting him to the second level,
right?
Because he doesn't have great vision, and when the Bears' offensive line is blocking like it is now, it's not like exactly opening up a ton of holes. And he hasn't had that chance. He hasn't really gotten to the second level, where that is where he thrives. And I don't see that changing. So you kind of just, like you said, play him on third down, throw him a screen, maybe give him some catches in the flat where he can maybe just make a guy miss and go from there. But just the whole run game needs to be really revamped. I wasn't a huge Roschon Johnson guy last year, but you cannot say that he hasn't been better than DeAndre Swift.
Totally.
He's been clearly better than DeAndre Swift. So, and he's in his second year, give him a chance. See what you have there. Give him a chance, and if he doesn't step up to the plate and really take it over, then you have to address the position this offseason. But you don't know that until you give him a chance to fail. I want to see Khalil Herbert more. I don't know why the Bears seem to hate Khalil Herbert whenever he gets a chance to play. In his career, he's always done well. They're using him as a short yardage back, which is historically his worst thing he does. He's not a good.
It's not even like he does it bad. It's just like it's not his game. Like even then, maybe that makes more sense with Roschon. But no, the usage of Khalil Herbert in that offense is like kind of like a microcosm of all the things that have been frustrating with this offense so far this year. Has been one, the offensive line has played poorly, specifically in the run game. And when they haven't played poorly, or I guess this is a better way to say it, there have been each of the people on the line have had games and moments where they've played fine, but someone on that line is pretty much good. They'll be responsible to let the play get blown up on one play or another, and it's like you almost can't count for sure on someone not doing it every play. So that's been really frustrating. But that has kind of been my issue on the whole with the offense. The personnel choices are horrible. We're doing goofy stuff like having our 5'8" wide receiver blocking screenplays for the tight end. Just flip it.
Or run blocking as a tight end as an in-blind blocker on the goal line. Like,
just
it makes no sense.
Flip it. I'm going to see Travis Homer on third down the first two games. I'm throwing screen passes to Gerald Everett. I know you played in Seattle with these guys, and maybe they have some familiarity with the offense, but they are clear drop-offs between that talent and the talent that was already in house that the Bears had in Komet and in Herbert. Stop being cute. Just
yeah,
use your good guys.
right,
As frustrated, that's probably been the most frustrating part. Is it seems like we're shooting ourselves in the foot with something that was supposed to be a strength. This team
yeah,
was going to have to learn the offense. We were going to have a rookie quarterback, but Shane Waldron had been a pretty solid play caller everywhere else he's been in the NFL, and he got a
yeah,
lot out of those out of a young, inexperienced offense in Seattle. And we've just seen none of that in Chicago. That has been the biggest disappointment so far for me, and for these through these first 3 games, and probably been the thing that I've was as surprised as bad as it is.
yeah,
It's something I really do believe that they can get right. Waldron's just working out how to call plays for this team and working out where he has these strengths. I get that you don't learn people and their games in 3 months or whatever it is, but
yeah,
something's got to give there, because if we see a marginal increase there, I think that this team has a lot more positive outlook. But
yeah,
if it continues to be like this, man, it starts to get kind of gloomy, because then you got to fire Shane, and then you got to fire Eberflus, and then it's like, okay, so where are we really? We're going to force him to learn another offense again, and it's like, I've
yeah.
seen this movie. I've seen this movie before.
Yeah, I think if you are gonna go, the sky's falling. It's not on Caleb. It should be on the offense. It should be on Shane Waldron, because yeah, it has been not good. Just, I guess that's the only way you could put it. I do think if it continues like this, you have to let Shane Waldron go. And in which case, I don't know how Matt Eberflus survives that either. I think
Totally.
at that point, you just got to be like, okay, we gave him a chance, and we got to bring in Ben Johnson as the head coach. And unfortunately, then you have a quarterback learning a new system in his second year, which is what we all wanted to avoid, which is why we all wanted them to just hire a different head coach
Seriously.
this past offseason. That really, it does start. I feel like it does start at the top. I think I don't know how this rest of the season is going to go, but I think it's pretty obvious that the Bears made the wrong decision to not hire an offensive-minded head coach.
And
To
honestly, it might not even be that the Bears made a mistake to not hire an offensive-minded head coach. It just doesn't feel like Eberflus is the guy.
Yeah, I mean
You
the
need it.
defense is playing well, but like I mean I feel like if you wanted a defensive coordinator, you just hire a defensive coordinator. I mean you don't need that guy to be your head coach and then your offense to struggle as a result of that.
And even a coordinator conversation aside, like the calling of the plays, it just feels like the Bears have never outcoached their opponents
No,
ever. I don't
not
feel like
since
we're
the
ever
Lovey
making.
Smith. And even then, that was I don't know if it was ever really out coaching, but it's been a while. We'll say.
Seriously, and that's kind of what it felt like in the Colts game. Is that the Bears were
Yeah,
just outcoached? They had the games that the Bears do a good job of hanging in and losing games that they have a chance of winning, and that's been probably their MO the last 4 or 5 years, I'd say. And I just don't feel like that's the case with teams that are coached really well. I made a tweet about it today, but look around the rest of the NFC North. When those teams are in close games versus teams you think they're supposed to beat, they beat them.
yeah.
KOC has the Vikings balling. Matt LaFleur gives those Packers a chance in almost any game they play. That's how well put together that Packers team is around Matt LaFleur. And
I've
Dan Campbell
had Matt LaFleur
feels like
just
he squeezes the juice out of every one of his players, like gets the most out of them. And I don't think anybody can say that about Eberflus.
yeah. I mean Matt LaFleur, though, what he's doing in Green Bay right now is unbelievable.
He's a freak,
Um,
man. You watch their
I mean
games,
with
it's the same
with
with Bobby
Malik Willis,
Slowick. It's like, dude, they just scheme up winners so much. Easy 20, 30 play chunk plays where it's like, can it really be that easy?
yeah. I mean even though the big chunk plays that we had we fought for them. The big play to Odunze down the sideline was a contested catch.
Totally.
Everything was tough, and like not even only that, it's how many pre-snap penalties have we had? How many times have we been late getting the call into the huddle and everything like that? How
How
many
many times?
timeouts
How
have
many
we
times has like a missed assignment ruined
missed
what could be a
assignment?
good play? Not even that, like they
Right.
just executed better than us. That like Caleb IDs the mic, and then they get Travis Homer still trying to help on the chip when you know that he's not coming, or
Yeah.
you get 2 tight ends on a pass rusher in the fourth versus
Yeah.
the Colts, and their job is you don't let him outside, you don't let him inside, and the only person not supposed to let him outside lets him outside.
That was the most frustrating thing. We've seen this for the past. It's not even just this year, like a Shane Waldron, Caleb Williams issue. We've seen it the last couple of years too. How many times have the Bears in the last with Luke Getsy, Shane Waldron have run a max protect against 4 rushers, and the quarterback still gets sacked? It's like, how does this keep happening?
Like,
This doesn't happen to
seriously.
other teams. Like
It
that
happened
fumble,
against it
the
happened in the
fumble.
Texans game too.
Yeah, the fumble that you're talking about. That should have. Caleb did not expect to have pressure from his blind side because he had 2 tight ends over there. We had 7, 8 guys blocking.
I know.
I mean not 8 guys. We had 6 or 7 guys blocking. He shouldn't have had to be feeling pressure back there.
I know. It's actually really annoying because then you get the people going, Caleb Williams can't feel pressure. Like, Caleb Williams is this turnover machine. And I already have this thought about this today. Like, having really good pocket presence is a totally beautiful thing to see in the NFL. And the only real way to do it is to have an idea of like who's across from you and then also have an idea about how the play is supposed to play out. So you can kind of like play to the area that you're strong and use that game sense and kind of meld that all together to know where you're supposed to go when the play snapped. And you'll see a play like that and be like, oh, Caleb's got no sense. And it's like to some extent, when Caleb snaps that ball, he needs to think, okay, where's my trouble and where am I safe? And he probably thinks when he's got his 2 tight ends over there helping, that's the only place I know I don't need to worry about. I'll keep everything else in front of me. I have to trust that that's good, and then I can step up and make the pass. If I don't trust that backside's not good, none of it really matters anyway because I'm not going to be able to set into the pocket. So it's almost like to a fault he was trusting in the system and gets punished for it. It's brutal. It happened the same thing. I almost made a cut up of it in the Texans game. You go to that first third down of the game. We get 2 backs in the backfield and 2 tight ends chipping. We have basically just 2 out routes on the outside. And the first third down of the game, 3rd and 14, Bears do a great job picking up the blitz. Caleb gets to the bottom of his drop, throws a dart on that out route to DeAndre Carter, 15 yards on 3rd and 14, first down. You show that they run basically the exact same play in the third quarter, converting like a 3rd and 12. And DeAndre Carter, or maybe it's DJ Moore, is open on that out route to the side. And it all works except for the fact that Homer blows up the chip, and the pressure comes from the inside, and the play gets blown up, and Caleb has to scramble. And it's like the only reason you call that play is to make sure that he has time in the pocket to step up and make the throw, and it still gets blown up.
Yeah.
And like you can't even really give a fair assessment of like Caleb or even Shane Waldron for that matter. To some extent, the way you execute is a reflection of your offensive coordinator, but you can't even really question, the play calling or like, scheme when the players within the scheme just aren't letting it play.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're 100% right. If a guy just completely blows an assignment, is that Shane Waldron's fault? Maybe you can put a little bit of blame on there, but eventually, at a certain point, you just have to say the guy's got to execute. But I think the execution's been a problem, but I mean, the offense in general has been a problem, which is going to fall on Shane Waldron. But someone, we got a comment here, is Chris Morgan the problem? I do think he's part of it as well. I mean, Chris Morgan has been the offensive line coach for a few years now. I don't know exactly when he was hired, but a few years, and the offensive line has been a problem. Chris Morgan is also the run game coordinator for the Chicago Bears. So all the run plays you see where you have guys not blocking anyone or guys missing assignments or going the wrong way, that's not Shane Waldron. That's Chris Morgan. So I think without a doubt, Chris Morgan is on the hot seat. This might even be an in season firing, possible with him. I mean, Shane Waldron's not going to get fired in mid-season, and I do think I'm going to give Shane Waldron some time to figure it out here. It's okay to be critical of him, but I also think we have to realize it is week 3 with a rookie signal caller with a bunch of people learning the offense. So while it hasn't looked good and he's definitely, the seat's getting a little bit warm, there's still plenty of time to turn this around and get them back on track. And same thing with Chris Morgan too. It's new. He is the run game coordinator, but he is working under a new head coach with a new style, or offense coordinator, I should say, a new style. So there's still time for them to turn this around, but we need to start seeing how they looked in the fourth quarter last week or in week 3 throughout the entire game, and then build off that and build off that and build off that. This next game against the Rams, we need to see some growth. I don't want to see them taking a step back and then Caleb Williams taking a step back. We need to see incremental growth over the next couple of weeks. Otherwise, you got to start making some real tough decisions.
Seriously. Yeah, it's been a bit of a mess. I think Caleb Williams kind of elevated that offense last week, which is good to see. And honestly, if you don't want to be the grand pessimist, you want to look at some of the things that were good. going back and watching Caleb Williams, I was really impressed with last game. Seriously, I thought he did a bunch of stuff that was unreal, and I thought he did a bunch of stuff that like just executing at a really high level on the easy stuff or the stuff that you're supposed to be like the quick throws, for example. That was something that we almost never got from Justin Fields, and to some extent wasn't really like the thing that you look for when you draft a Caleb Williams. And he's still like he settled into what the defense was taking him, and it's something that like for example like it took Josh Allen years to start taking the easy stuff and operating like that, and it changed the way that defenses had to play him because he was kind of like a big player, a boo boo type player, and early for Justin Fields to show that and just work the inside. Like in the fourth, like he basically just kept saying, "Hey, if you're going to give me command, I'm just going to keep taking them and keep taking them." With that snappy release, like that can be an issue, and working that pass game like that is what's going to open up some of the bigger passes and open up some of the offense afterwards. And if I were the Bears right now, I would start looking at that quick passing game as an extension of the run game at the moment.
Yeah, I think you have to. Yeah, I think he was really impressive to me. Even on the rewatch, he was even more impressive. So even some of the misses, the not or should just say incompletions, I thought were pretty impressive. The guy, he was throwing it with anticipation. He was throwing to spots on the field, and the wide receivers weren't necessarily getting that spots, but he was throwing guys open. A couple that stick out was towards the end of the game. There was a play to DeAndre Carter at the back of the end zone where he threw around a linebacker and put it only where DeAndre Carter can get it. I think maybe if there's a different wide receiver there, someone who was a little taller.
I know, I agree.
That was Rome Odunze. He might have been able to come down with it. It was just too high. There was in the net. I think if it wasn't the next play, it was 2 plays later or whatever. To Rome Odunze, where Rome was a post over the middle. Rome Odunze sat in the zone, even though they were playing man, instead of continuing across.
Mm-hmm.
And on the broadcast, it was like, oh, Caleb missed that one, but Odunze really stopped when he should have kept going, and that would have been a completion possible touchdown. So I think there were a lot of even misses that were like, okay, you saw what Williams was doing there, and he was throwing guys open, going with anticipation, and then the quick stuff was just fantastic. So a lot to be excited about. Still some things that he has to clear up. Again, I want to reiterate that because I was tweeting positive things and people were saying but this but that. Yeah, no, I see all that.
Yeah, 100%.
He's a rookie in his
I saw him go to the flat late and throw the pick.
Oh yeah, you can't go to the flat late. That's like
I've seen him overthrow some deep balls by like 7 or 8 yards, like full misses. And those happen. Those will happen. And like I said, it's not like he's completely like off the hook as well as the reasons why we've had offensive struggles. But he has seemed to get better. He doesn't seem frazzled like I think some people have thought. He seems like he's in charge of that offense. And something that's been really encouraging too has been how he's responded. I don't know if people have been paying attention to like what he's been saying and how he's been carrying himself in the post-game press conferences. But I think a lot of those things about the character concerns with him, man, were really unfair. This kid's a good kid and he gets it. And I think it would have been easy for someone that's had as much publicity as him to get really frustrated early when they haven't seen the success they wanted. But it seems like he understands that it's not easy to be good in the NFL. And that, there have been positive steps and the team's working toward it. And he's taking the accountability for that.
I also think, yes, I 100% agree with all you said. But after he threw that first touchdown pass, I think he really settled down. I think him and Odunze were both kind of frustrated that they didn't get a touchdown the first couple games.
Yeah, totally. There was probably a little bit of that, like.
And you saw that in the Texans game a lot with Caleb pushing things that he should not have pushed because he was getting frustrated that they just haven't gotten into the end zone yet. And I think once they got in the end zone, literally, I think they were like, oh, whew, okay, fine, we can finally just play our game, and it showed the rest of the game. So, yeah, I think that was huge. I think it was really nice. Some non-Caleb things. I think it was really nice to see Cole Kmet have a big game and get involved in the offense.
Totally.
Playing more than Gerald Everett like he should. I know, the opinions on Cole Kmet vary widely. A lot of people think he's top 5 tight end in the league. A lot of people think he's a nobody, but I think he falls somewhere kind of in the middle there. But he knows he finds the holes in the zone, and I think he just is really helpful for quarterbacks. He gives them a big target. I know it sounds like dumb, like old school meatball stuff, that he's tight end is a quarterback's best friend, but like, and he does. He just finds holes in the zone. He just moves the chains. Like I think he's very valuable, a little bit underrated by.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think underrated is a great way to describe Cole Kmet. I think if it wasn't for a bunch of hating ass people on the internet telling you that he sucks, specifically a very small contingent of people that really hate Cole Kmet, I think we'd be talking about him like one of the better tight ends in the league. Maybe he's not a top 5 tight end in the league, but tight end right now in the NFL is devoid of like stars and production. If he's not top 5, he's top 7. And
As
like
a
it doesn't
Mark Andrews fantasy football owner, like I need
Isaiah Likely. You know,
yeah.
me and my homies were talking about today is Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews scored 0 points this week.
Yeah,
What
that's
the
crazy.
fuck is that about?
But anyway, sorry, not to interrupt, but I just got to get that off my chest.
I like Caleb, but it does sting when you see Daniels currently at 20 for
Yeah.
20, 10 for 3, 1 touchdown, no interception. I mean, but to be fair, Caleb, I mean, that's Jaden Daniels' first touchdown of the season. To be fair, he actually just threw a really beautiful deep ball touchdown to Terry McLaurin as well. So now that's changed. It's going to take time. I think I would say that so far the supporting cast and the play calling around Jaden Daniels has probably been a little bit better, which probably adds to that. I don't think that the success it's not a zero sum league. I don't think that anything that has to do with how Jaden Daniels is performing makes you feel any different about Caleb. To be honest, Caleb's situation is unique, as are their skill sets. There's no part of me that would prefer to have Jaden Daniels versus Caleb Williams right now. But I think it probably is easy to look around the league and say, oh, I wish. But it is what it is. Like we are where we are. I think things that are encouraging in the second half of the game, we saw a lot less Travis Homer, a lot less Gerald Everett. That's good. Yeah. We saw a lot more of that quick passing game, and like a lot of those catches, those catches that Kmet was making over the middle, man, they weren't easy. He was taking some licks, and they were in tight windows, and he was getting hand fought for them, and it's not very often that you see Cole Kmet drop a ball. I'd pressure you to go and find the last time that Cole Kmet made an awful play. Maybe he doesn't separate like people want. He's a big tight end, right? He's that classic tight end that you also want to keep in line to block as well. So he probably won't ever be the greatest separator. But yeah, I mean, it's a loss. The Bears team are going to lose some games this year. I was encouraged with the things I saw from the people that were important. Romo Dunes. 115 yards and a touchdown as a rookie. That is exactly what we wanted from him, and he looked great.
Yeah.
I think we need to start putting DJ Moore in a milk carton. Whatever the hell is going on with him is weird. He doesn't look like we're putting him in good situations to succeed, and he seems like he's getting frustrated a lot more now than I've ever seen in the past, because we've had some bad offensive games in the past with him, and I didn't see this kind of thing.
Yeah, I think with Moore, I think it's all just usage.
Totally.
I think it was. Oh man, I'm blanking on the guy who on Bears Twitter who tweeted out the stats, and oh my god, it's gonna kill me. I've followed him for years. I can't remember his name, but he tweeted something about the usage with Caleb Williams and just how far it down is, because he's getting receptions, he's making catches.
I know
it's pretty much all screens, and if you watch the all 22, it's screens and short passes, and then he's running like go routes and clears essentially. So it's almost like they're using him like a decoy, which I don't really understand. But also just from it, I mean, him and Caleb just really haven't been on the same page. The very first play of the game in this week was Caleb threw a back shoulder to DJ, and DJ was running a go. So they were just not on the same page there.
And that happened in the Texans game as well.
Yeah, I think it did. So they haven't been on the same page on that kind of concept all year. Clearly, they've been practicing that back shoulder throw, and Caleb keeps going to the back shoulder, and DJ keeps running the go. So I don't know why they're not on the same page there, but I guess I do know why they're on the same page there. This is the third game they've ever played together, so let's give them some time. Hopefully by the end of the year they start hitting those. But I will say on the first play of this game, when I watch it, I do think that Moore read that right, because he didn't. There was no safety over the top on that play. The corner was running kind of step for step with him, so I saw maybe what Caleb was doing, and I don't know what Waldron is telling them to do in that situation. But to me, it seemed like you had one-on-one coverage, you can kind of throw that up to DJ Moore, and hopefully he comes down with it. But again, they'll get on the same page eventually. I really do think in week, it might take. I'm not gonna say it's gonna be next week, but I really do by week 10. By the time we get to NFC North games, I think the Bears offense is gonna be rolling.
Yeah,
that's week 11, I believe. Week 12, maybe something like that. I think they're gonna be maybe not a top tier offense, but they're gonna be doing pretty well.
I totally agree. I think it's only going to get better. It should only get better for Waldron on the play calling side as he starts to understand his personnel more and kind of see in game what's working, what's not, and kind of realize one that Homer and Everett aren't it, but also as his team learns the offense more, he won't need to rely on them strictly for like offensive like for understanding the offense. These other guys should start to get it a little bit better.
Yeah.
But I agree. Like I feel like this is going to be one of those things that 7 or 8 weeks from now we'll see that stat where it's like first 5 weeks of the season and the second 5 weeks of the season kind of thing. I don't think that there's any chance that the first 2 offensive weeks that we had, the output like that keeps up. I think we saw positive strides in the right direction this week, and I think if they can find a way to shore up that offensive line, at least make it a little bit more serviceable. There's a bunch of talent on that line, and like I said, they've all kind of played good games in their own right here and there. Braxton Jones had an all right game week 1. Darnell Wright really didn't. They kind of flipped that in week 2. The inside of the offensive line had a bad first 2 weeks, and I think they played a little bit better in week 3 versus I think that was probably week 3 was probably Braxton Jones' worst game of the season. So it's like if those can start to come together and we don't get those horrible performances alongside average performances, if we can get a couple of average performances of all of them playing good, I think the offense is moving in the right direction. We're going to return Keenan Allen to a team who I think is someone like as a tool has been exactly what we're missing for go and get open while they're blitzing me on 4th down. Blitzing our ability to work against the blitz has been horrible so far this year, and rightfully so. We got a rookie quarterback and an offensive line that's been patchwork so far. But someone like a Keenan Allen, where I can get open in 1.5 seconds versus man for you, is something we've been missing. So, I'm bullish on this offense getting at least marginally better. And, with a marginally better offense and someone that I would consider to be an X factor at QB, coupled with a defense I think is good. Like, that's still what the formula was going to be for the Chicago Bears all year.
Yeah. No, I agree. And the offensive line, I think they played their best game this past week in week 3. And it wasn't coincidence that not that they played amazing, but there were still bad moments, but they played their best game, and I think that's not a coincidence that Caleb also had his best game, because this entire season when Caleb Williams has been kept clean, he's kind of been playing really well. So I think the problem with the offensive line is you don't really have that guy on your offensive line. You're like, this guy's going to win. I can set him at any position and just forget about him. All of the guys have good moments, but bad moments. So it only takes on off the line one guy to have a bad moment for the whole play to fall apart. So when you have 5 guys who are all capable of having bad moments.
Yeah, no, I know. I think if you're looking at the offensive line and you want either Darnell Wright or Tevin Jenkins to be your stud, I think those are guys that have shown at least the ceiling to be that stud. Definitely Jenkins more than Darnell Wright. Just in the Jenkins, some of Jenkins' high end tape is like top 5 talent in the league, and to be fair, I honestly think he almost played like that this week against the Colts. He had a great game. At least his this was the first time it felt like he had a really good cohesion with the center. I thought they did a good job passing stuff off and working together. But if the offensive line and honestly the way that Eberflus as a whole gets his team prepared is kind of coming out of week 3, what I'm looking at for the rest of the season as far as like what will tip the scales as far as this being a season that could turn into something or a season that, by week 16, we'll be thinking about, hey, maybe we'll get a better draft pick.
Yeah. Got another comment here. Another Jay Daniels comment. We're obviously not watching the game right now. I actually haven't even watched a snap of this game at all yet today, but apparently Jay Daniels is looking legit. Again, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I mean, like Luke said, it's not a zero-sum game. Both quarterbacks can look good, and in fact, Caleb Williams did look good yesterday. So Jalen Daniels can do whatever he wants. It doesn't affect how I perceive Caleb. I thought he played really well on Sunday, and I think he's going to be continuing to play really well. We're not going to know if the Bears made the right decision this year. We're not going to know for 3 years, most likely. So just try to focus on the Bears and just kind of don't listen to Chase Daniel on ESPN, who's just trying to get clicks and get you to hate him. Just focus on the Bears, and you're gonna have a really good time. Trust me, it's gonna get there.
Yeah, and honestly, the so being Canadian, I watch the NFL through a program called DAZN or DAZN. I don't know how everyone else pronounces it around the world, but it comes baked in now with all 22. So it's been a real treat to be able to get that for free, as opposed to having to jump through hoops and download VPNs and stuff to watch that. And I cannot tell you, Bears fans, how much better Caleb Williams looks when you're just watching the tape. When you're not having it colored in by like the expectations that the announcers want to put on him and all the stuff that you're reading on Twitter, when you watch it on a snap by snap basis, it's entirely more encouraging. You know, the Caleb Williams, the worst plays for Caleb Williams are when the things break down around him. When everybody else does their jobs, you'd be very, very hard pressed to find a bunch of really bad plays from Caleb Williams this year where the team around him has played good.
I could have said it better myself.
Like that's probably the thing that's been most encouraging to me is like, Caleb Williams has made bad plays, but there have been very, very few plays where Caleb Williams is really the reason the ship sunk. The late throw to the flat, that was his fault. A couple of missed throws long, those are his faults. But for the most part, when like the plays have broken down and when he's made what you would consider bad plays, taking sacks or throwing interceptions or missing guys, it's been because like the rest of the play has fallen down around him as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's he's looked good to me. So, and I, in the past, we've hyped up. I remember, Mitch Trubisky, Justin Fields days, seeing them throw for 112 yards and a touchdown and 2 picks and hyping up that performance. So I think we could all hype up Caleb Williams
360
a little bit, 360, whatever it was. I know, he threw the ball 52 times. I know that, but there was a lot of good stuff in there.
Seriously.
So,
lots of good stuff there.
Yeah,
man, the play when he boots and the defensive end is right there and he hits him with that little hezzy spin move.
Yeah, that was a
our
special
quarterback. Our quarterback is sick. It's fun to watch him play. And
Yeah.
and this is something that I think people slept on in the draft process and has continued to be true now through into the NFL. Despite the fact that he's able to do that stuff, you can tell that he has some slight aversion to it. He would much rather work in system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he's looked at his best when he's in the system.
Totally.
Within 2.5 seconds, balls out. That's when he's looked his best, which was his biggest knock coming into the.
And it was honestly, for ball knowers, it was a bit of an unfair knock. He was actually like stunning to watch in system. It was almost the opposite, where like all the stuff you kind of hated happened when the stuff broke down. But those were also where you saw those plays where you were like, wow.
Yeah. All the people who were saying he was going to be a bust because he can't play within structure. There were tons of people saying that. He comes out and he plays pretty well in structure, and they're still calling him a bust because he's for other reasons.
It's like now it's basically what we said. When the play breaks down, he hasn't been able to just always backyard football it.
Right.
Which we knew would be the case. Oh, wow. That last touchdown to Terry McLaurin, I just won a really, really big fantasy game by 2 points. We needed
He's on my bench because
he's been playing crazy bad.
Yeah, because Jaden Daniels hasn't thrown the ball for the first 2 weeks of the season. Now I put him on my bench, and now Jaden Daniels apparently decided to be good, but whatever. That's a different conversation.
It is. Again, 0-sum game. Good. We're happy for Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
We got Rams next week. Any thoughts, comments, concerns? What do you think?
My thoughts are the Rams are banged up, but they have Sean McVay. So they're going to – and they beat the 49ers. They're going to be – I'm not going to overlook them because they have a few injuries. They're still going to be a very tough team to beat. Obviously, I'd rather face them without Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, but they're still going to be a good team. I think Sean McVay is always going to put stress on the defense.
Yep.
No matter how good your defense is, no matter who's out there. So I want to see, it'll be interesting to see them. I think we haven't really talked much about the defense, but after the first game of the year, we really haven't generated much of a pass rush, which is kind of how we expected the season to go.
Yeah,
we really didn't have much of a pass rush against the Colts at all. We had that one sack, but that was it. And not a lot of pressure. So I think you really need to see more out of Sweat and Walker and Javon Dexter, has shown flashes, but he really hasn't put together a full game. So that's what I really want to see. I want to see, and from the offensive side of the ball, I just want to see growth. Doesn't have to be perfect again, but I don't make the same mistakes you've made in the past. Like on that late throw to the outside. Don't do that again. If we see that this week, then that's an issue. If we see that in week 11, 12, that's a huge issue.
Right.
But just don't make the same mistakes twice. Keep growing. Keep doing what you're doing. I want to see them get in a rhythm. I want to see Shane Waldron. I tweeted this out during the game, but it seems like Shane Waldron, like all his play calls are like, "Oh, the defense will never see this coming," instead of "This is what we do well. We're gonna run this play until they stop us." And I want to see more of that. Like, but I think we're still kind of trying to figure out what we do well. But I think we have a better idea now than we did 2 days ago. So quick passes. So I want to see that. I want to see him be like, "Okay, this is what we did well last week. Let's do it again and see if they stop." Rather than just being like, "Oh, I'm so creative, I'm going to trick them."
Oh, they'd never see this. Oh, yeah, you mean the one where you get the 5'8" wide receiver blocking for the 6'5" tight end when they could have just flipped it? Yeah.
And I really hope we
get. There's a reason they didn't see it coming.
Yeah, I really hope we get Keenan Allen back because DeAndre Carter's a fine punt returner, kick returner, but man, he is not a wide receiver that should be playing.
So funny how much he's another guy that it's like kind of hard to not have some frustration with Waldron as far as like, come on. And even in 2 wide receiver sets, we're seeing a lot more DeAndre Carter than we're seeing of Rome Odunze. And it's like, that just can't be the case.
And like, at least put Tyler Scott out there. Tyler Scott and Caleb Williams had a great connection in the preseason. I know it's preseason. But again, play your young guys if you're going to play a journeyman punt returner at wide receiver. Seriously. Play your young guys. See what you have there. DeAndre Carter, he's not going to be any worse.
DeAndre Carter was wearing 30 a week ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's not your wide receiver too.
Yeah. So it'll be nice to get Keenan Allen back. Hopefully he's back this week. We don't know for sure, but it seems like he's kind of on track because I don't know, maybe not, but
I know we heard it was like a veteran rest day, and then he missed 2 weeks. You know what I mean?
Right. So who knows? But I think that's really going to help them once they get him back. That was the whole game plan going into the year was Keenan Allen was going to be a huge help to Caleb Williams, and he really hasn't had that safety net minus week 1, the first part of week 1. So
yeah,
hopefully he's back. It is at home, I believe. So hopefully it would be nice to get a win.
Yeah, I think this Rams team is underrated. They added a lot of really, really good talent to that defense, which already had some underrated talent. I think they basically, have tried to replace Aaron Donald with like 4 other guys, which is basically the way you have to do it. And they played all right. They always play up like that. McVay has that team ready. And I think that on paper, I think the Bears are favored right now, and that surprises me. I think if you were a betting man, you'd put money on the Rams just from, the way these seasons have gone for each other. But like I said, I also think we are closer than we are farther away on offense. Mm-hmm. I think little decision-making things would improve a lot of the execution on that offense before, having to change, anything drastic. Just using the right personnel, reining in the play calling a little bit, playing to your players' strengths. I think things like that, just those little changes would be enough for this offense to slightly break through. And I know that breakthrough game is coming. Is it going to happen this week against the Rams? I think if it does, we can beat this Rams team easily. I think if the offense still kind of sputters a little bit, maybe we don't get Keenan Allen back and we still work through a little bit of it. We get maybe some fits from, Jared Verse or Cookie Turner and Fisk along the defensive line. It'll be a closer one. So I think if the defense can finally have that breakout party, I think, if the offense can have the breakout party, our defense is probably good enough to hold that, skeleton crew offense to low enough that we can beat them. But if we have another performance similar to what we had against the Colts, Texans, and Titans, I don't know. It's tough. Yeah. That Rams team's good, man. They just took down a 49ers team that is just riddled with talent.
Yeah, you can't overlook them. I think it's going to be a tough game. And, it wouldn't surprise me if we lose it, but it would be nice to get a win. I just pulled up the Bears' schedule, though. And I think, looking at the schedule going forward, like, there are some winnable games on here. And I know we've said how, like, this season is kind of the whole point is Caleb Williams' growth, but you do still have to get some wins. It's that time. Totally. So we got the Rams this week.
Growth, you know what I mean? Like getting those wins and starting to believe in yourself. It's kind of like a microcosm of what you said about getting that first touchdown. Kind of just took the monkey off his back and loosened it up. Starting to rattle off some wins and knowing you can compete in some of those bigger games helps you to believe that you can compete and win those games.
Yep. So we got the Rams this week. Obviously, that's a tough game, but it's a winnable game. But it is a tough game, especially since it's at home. Panthers the week after that, that's got to be a win.
Well, fuck, man. Who's playing QB? Is it the Red Rocket?
But even with Andy Dalton, I feel good about that one. Got the Jaguars after that, who just got crushed by the Bills today.
They suck.
You got the Commanders after that, which is a winnable game, despite what Jalen Daniels doing tonight. You got the Cardinals after that. They're a good team, but that could be a game you win, even if that is a game you lose, and then the Patriots after that. So that's, in my mind, 4 winnable games out of your next 6, and the other 2 games are
six winnable games, 4 that I would say the Bears are favored in, probably.
Yeah, there you go. 6 winnable games, 4 that are like you should win those games almost.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
It's very possible. What is that? That would put them at 5 and 4 going into against the Packers. That's not a bad place to be. That'd be fine.
No, I mean, I think that's kind of how I felt when I rewatched the game from this week. I think there was a lot of the world is falling down stuff, which even at the first watch I didn't think was fair, but watching through it again, It was like, okay, we probably took some strides forward as opposed to strides back, even though we lost. I didn't think that there was anything that was like genuinely cause for concern, except like decision making from the Bears. Maybe say what you will, maybe about the interior offensive line. You probably need to add a lot of talent to that for sure. But I wasn't nearly as turned off as I think the general Bears fandom was. I was encouraged by what Caleb Williams did. I think the Bears still have an incredibly talented roster. If they can.
We are great. I didn't mean to actually show that comment though.
That's really good. I think if we can beat these Rams teams, who knows? Who knows how hot you can get? But I think, like we said, all of those games you just mentioned are winnable, and that's kind of where I see this Bears team. Maybe it's just the more experienced Bears fan in me, but 1 week doesn't really make a season. I've seen down weeks followed by good weeks before. I think the outlook for this team really hasn't changed much, except for the fact that I've been pleasantly surprised with the things that Caleb Williams has been able to do and show on the football field and off the football field so far. We have a good defense. We should be able to compete and beat bad teams. Better teams will probably give us trouble, but if we can get those miracle performances from the offenses here and there, who knows?
Yeah, and if we don't make the playoffs this year, it's not the end of the world.
No, and we said it going into the season. We have high hopes for Caleb, and this team could be a fun playoff team this year for sure if they sneak in. But it has always been about 2025. We're going to go into this offseason with 3 picks in the top 40 picks, or probably 2 picks, maybe 3 picks in the top 50 picks.
Yeah.
It's looking like that 6th round pick from the Steelers is going to turn into a 4th round pick, which is really nice because then we're going to have 6 picks in the first 4 rounds, as well as probably top 10, maybe even close to like top 5 money available in free agency, depending on if we cut some of the dead weight in like a Gerald Everett, a Nate Davis, or a DeAndre Swift. I think, knowing that you have all that, it makes looking at this year a little bit more of like a, be patient, it'll come around. But I definitely don't think the sky is falling as much as like a lot of people on Twitter have taken the X to show.
Yeah. No, this guy's not falling yet. This guy, there might be some cracks there.
Yeah.
That you need to take care of, but it's not falling yet.
Yeah. There is a doom and gloom world when you think about life post Eberflus. If you get to the end of the season and realize that he's not the guy, it's a lot of uncertainty. And it makes this offseason massive because you cannot bungle the people that you surround Caleb Williams with twice, or then you could get into some really scary territory. But I don't want to think about that right now.
Yeah. No, too early for that.
Yeah.
But no, I'm just excited. I'm excited to watch the team grow. I think
Bears Rams is going to be so much fun.
Whether you look at just the box score or if you actually watch the games from game to game, from week 1 to week 2 to week 3, there have been more good plays each week.
Yes, absolutely.
And
he's looked more like an NFL quarterback.
Right. We'll take that. We'll take that for right now. Again, if we're sitting here in week 14 saying these exact same things, then you have everyone that's starting now has all the right in the world to tell us to go screw ourselves and we're idiots. And you'd be right. But I don't think we're going to be making these same excuses later on in the year.
Hopefully by that point we'll be mad at someone else.
We'll have a different scapegoat by then.
Yeah. Maybe we'll hate Cole Kmet. Maybe we'll come around and be like, what did we know? All he did was catch short passes.
Yeah, stupid Cole Kmet. Can't believe people in week 3 said he was good.
Yeah, exactly. Anything else? Any other thoughts? I think that
we got one other comment I just want to point out. It's a little bit early for this, but we did get the comment. So GG, I'm hoping this is Greg Gabriel. But who you draft in the first round next April? Still very early in that, but I have started watching some guys in the
You
draft.
have. You boys have been talking in that group chat. I'm like, I'm so bad about caring about anything but the Bears football when the NFL is on.
Hey, that's the normal. That's the normal thing to do. So don't feel bad about that. The crazy thing to do is to be watching Ariante Ursary in week 3. But that is a guy that I think I watch more of. I think he's a really good offensive lineman tackle for the Minnesota. But they got to go offensive line, right? I mean,
I think so.
Most likely. I mean, it's not a great offensive line class from what I've watched, and it's way too early to start naming a bunch of names off, rattling off a bunch of names off here. But it does feel like getting off a top tier offensive lineman would change the trajectory of this team. And I don't know who exactly that is yet. It seems like the tackle class is better than the guard class and center class. So
yeah,
maybe that is a Will Campbell from LSU, who seems to be the top tackle in the draft.
Yep.
And then I don't know what you do with Braxton Jones, but I think if you have a chance to upgrade that left tackle position, you have to take it this offseason.
Yeah.
Even though I think Braxton Jones is a fine starter at left tackle.
Yep, that's probably exactly what he is.
If you have a chance to get a top tier, top 5 tackle in the NFL, you take it, and then you figure out what to do with Braxton Jones after that. So I think that's kind of where my thought process would be right now. Otherwise, pass rusher as well.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be able to get anyone a specific name, but I would say that in line with what we've seen Poles do, when he has a position that he thinks needs addressing, it seems like he's willing to take a couple of shots in the draft. I would say that this is the year that, we probably see 2 guards and a center.
Yeah.
Something like that, where the Bears just take a couple of shots and say, hey, we need to influx a lot of talent in this position. That the draft is a crapshoot, so just it's more about the number of shots you can take versus the specific shots that you take. I think that should be the goal for the entire offseason. Just surround Caleb with offensive talent, offensive line talent help. I think under contract already we have DJ Moore, Romo Dunes, Cole Kmet through for a couple more years. So just upgrade the hogs. That's what I'd say.
Absolutely. I think everyone's kind of on the same page there. So
cool.
All right. Well, we got the Rams next week. We'll be back next week talking Rams, talking Caleb Williams, talking all that stuff. Thank you everyone for listening. Thank you for everyone for commenting. It's really a lot of fun when people actually comment because it gives us stuff to talk about. So thank you everyone who's commented. Thank you everyone who's listening. Thanks for everyone for liking, following, sharing, whatever. We have videos and stuff like that. We really do appreciate it.
Yeah.
We'll talk to everyone next week. Bear down, everyone.
Bear down.